The Trick Trance. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you have a loved one who seems to be somewhere else when he or she pulls. And when they're done, they might tell you they had no idea they were even doing it. But is that even possible? And what exactly is the Trick Trance anyway? Is there really such a thing? Is it really possible to pull hair after hair after hair out of your head or out of your body, something we all assume you'd certainly feel, without even noticing it? Let's take a look at this. Stay tuned. So the Trick Trance is a well-known phenomenon in which an individual engages in an episode of hair pulling with little or no awareness they're doing it. It seems to be significantly more common in children and younger teens than it is in older teens and adults, and it also seems to make up a greater portion of their pulling than it does for older teens and adults. But make no mistake, it may not be the majority of the pulling that happens for adults, but it can still be a significant part of the adult pulling experience as well. Now, most would reasonably expect everyone who pulls their hair to know darn well when they're doing it. I mean, ouch, right? Yet some people do indeed seem to have less awareness of their pulling activity than others. Some have little or none at all. And of course, it's one thing to attempt to resolve a challenge with hair pulling when the person's more or less aware of what they're doing. Once you show them how not to pull, because they are for the most part aware of what they're doing, they can just choose to implement some of the skills they've learned, right? But it can be a whole different ball of wax when you're dealing with somebody who genuinely appears to be clueless about their pulling activity when it's happening. So for example, many parents report tremendous frustration in trying to make meaningful headway with a child when this makes up most of their youngster's pulling activity. After all, if the child doesn't even know she's doing it, how can we possibly expect her to exercise choice and control over it? So now, when does this tend to actually happen? Well, although the Trick Trance can happen in virtually any context, clients here at the Trichotillomania Relief Specialist report experiencing it most often during periods of relative, shall we say, monotony. Examples might be when reviewing email, especially if there's a lot of it, doing the company's books, watching television, reading a book, scrolling down their phone, or even lying in bed on the way to sleep. We've worked with youngsters who quite absent-mindedly pull while doing their homework. It also happens a lot in class or when the young person is feeling bored or otherwise unengaged, when they're mentally checked out from the goings-on in class. So this trancey kind of pulling seems to serve as a kind of a mechanism or a vehicle that allows a person to tune out, usually from uncomfortable or boring circumstances, for example, school. Now this can be especially common in youngsters who aren't getting enough sleep. During times of relative physical inactivity, the brain may decide that's a good time to shut down for a few minutes to catch up on some of the mental maintenance processes that didn't have a chance to fully complete the night before. And so the question becomes, how do you handle something like this? Let's say you or your child, that seems to be most of the pulling they do. Well, let's start by making mention of something that Clay and I, we just sort of noticed over the course of the many years we've been doing this kind of work. And it's something we've never really heard anyone else comment on as it pertains to the Trick Trance. Frankly, I'm not sure anyone else has even noticed. And I'm going to bring it up because by pointing out what appears to be an undeniable truth, it suggests at least one possible way we can resolve this problem with what up until now may have been genuinely unconscious pulling. And the observation is this: somehow this Trick Trance, this repetitive pulling and pulling and pulling, never seems to happen when the puller's in a situation where they might risk being seen by someone or a group of people that they really wouldn't want to be caught pulling by. Kind of a fascinating realization when you think about it, wouldn't you say? Especially fascinating when it comes to something we've all been assuming, all this time, the trick sufferer really can't help. Know what else is interesting? Someone can be smack dab in the midst of this Trick Trance, this thing they presumably had zero awareness they were even doing. And if the right person suddenly walks in the room, we're talking about somebody that would never ever want to have them be seen pulling by in a million years, somehow they become immediately aware of what they're doing and they stop, quickly and easily. Heck, they'll even do their best to pretend they weren't doing anything at all, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they were actually aware of it all along and only decided to stop, pulling when this person walked in and then they decided they should stop pulling. No, I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that when it becomes important enough for the person to become aware of what they're doing, somehow all of a sudden they can become aware of it. And of course, once they become aware of it, now they can exercise choice in the matter. You know, if you're the parent of someone who seems to have a problem spacing out when they pull, knowing your child the way you do, wouldn't you say these observations probably ring true for your child as well? Are you an adult who's often found yourself pulling absent-mindedly? How about you? What would happen if there you are and you're in the middle of all this, and all of a sudden the door swings open and here comes somebody you know you wouldn't be caught dead pulling around? Where does that hand go? How fast? The truth. Interesting, right? And even if this has never occurred to you before, can you see how all this kind of points to a way of handling even this kind of difficult pulling situation? Right? See, the inescapable truth seems to be, the more important it is to the puller to be aware of what they're doing, the more likely they are to make sure they pay attention to it, and therefore the greater power and control they will be able to bring to bear over the situation. So the bottom line here is this: if you can find any way at all to make it truly, genuinely important to the puller to realize when he or she is pulling, the more immediate his or her awareness of the situation will be. And the great thing is, they won't even have to try to be more aware of what they're doing, they'll just be more aware of it. And thus the more choice they will have in the matter. You know, if you or a loved one is all too familiar with this kind of, usually the most troublesome sort of pulling, and you're not quite sure where to turn to put all this into practice, consider turning to us. Here at the Trichotillomania Relief Specialists, we've developed an incredibly effective method for helping to foster nearly immediate awareness of this behavior, even when all other attempts at doing so had failed. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and pound that like button, and please do subscribe to our channel. We'd love to be able to notify you when we have new content, more helpful videos coming your way. And you know what? Go ahead and hit that reply button below and leave a comment for us. Talk to us. How did this video impact you? If you're watching this video at our Facebook community page, please leave a comment there. We'd love to meet and chat with you. In fact, if you have questions about trichotillomania or hair pulling in general, and you're just not quite sure where to go for answers, please visit our website at www.trick-free.com. You'll see a Contact Us link at the upper right of all of our web pages. We do actually look through all of the questions that come into us very carefully, just like we do to the comments and questions that show up here at our YouTube channel, and we do our best to answer as many of those questions in these very videos as possible. Again, please do be sure to like and subscribe. We're here to entertain, inform, and most importantly to empower you to begin taking control of your hair pulling in ways you probably never thought possible before. If you'd like to reach out to us directly to get some information about how we can help you or a loved one, feel free to visit our website at www.trick-free.com. If you'd like, you can write to us at relief@trick-free.com. And you can also call us at any time of day or night toll free at 833-TRICK-FREE. Thanks again for watching. I'm Robert Mantell with the Trichotillomania Relief Specialists. Here's wishing you an amazing trick-free week.